Hello guys, and welcome to the 8th and last round of Spreewald Cup 2025. The race was on the 18th of October, so only 1 month into autumn, but this was a particularly cold day, and you will see a lot of drivers, myself included, sliding a lot in this session and for the races. Like, for example, you see here it was strangely easy to slide around today, and probably was also the card, but you see also other people here, like especially in this corner, you approach it quite fast. And here another example, one guy also hit the guy in front, so kind of good for me. He left me the free space, but the lap later I also misjudged the braking point here, and I took cut across. Luckily, I didn't affect any other cars or didn't ruin their laps. But yeah, with that being said, let's see my fastest lap. Somehow I managed to pull off a great lap. It was my fastest lap ever around this track, so it seems that just racing over and over just paid off. And also, this was not a bad session, a bad qualifying session to be in. There were a couple of slower cars, but in general, not many beginners. So I had to back off a few laps to just take some space from the cars in front, but it was, let's say, quite predictable. Like, I was getting the space, and there were no major things going on during the lap, so not many cards significantly slower. But yeah, so coming around on the airpin, luckily I was able to do this quite good compared to my previous fastest lap in this session, and that's where I basically gained all the delta. And at the end, it was a 47.546. I was not able to make a better lap time, but this was actually my strongest qualifying position ever. So all in all, I was super happy with this performance today, and yeah, hoping to do good in the next two races. So we're about to start race one at the probably the last sun rays of the day, and it was an okay start. Actually, not the best. Let's see how good this card is in top speed. Okay, it seems it's a bit faster, and I can already backdraft the guy in front of me. Yeah, let's see in the corners how the first lap develops. Not great here. Yeah, I mean, tires are cold, the track temperature is quite low. Uh, but okay, in front they're battling, so probably will be able to keep contact. But one guy was trying also to attack me, but I had the sideline here, so okay, not too bad. In the end, I was able to retain seventh position. But oof, here in these corners, in these couple of fast corners, it was a bit hard to keep the pace of the guys in front. And yeah, I ended up losing some ground. And here I also did a small mistake. So yeah, I kind of detached from those guys in front. But a few laps later, I was catching back up with them. And here they're battling quite hard. And so at the very last moment, I decided to go to the pits, so I raised my hand quite late. And for some weird reason, the pit lane entry was wet. So luckily, I was a bit cautious here and I didn't touch the barriers. Well, a few drivers in this race ended up touching the barriers because of that, and we are rejoining basically side by side with another cart. But luckily, I was able to stay in front. But then not much happened for the next 7 laps or so. I basically had no one in front of me, and only a couple of cars approaching quite fast. So the first one passing me here, and then immediately taking advantage of the situation. We have Joe here, but yeah, they were much faster than me in this race, so it was quite easy for them to overtake me. And we also have another card here just rejoining in front of them, so I was hoping that this could maybe slow them down and I could be back in contention. But no, this only lasted like a lap, but then also the guy who rejoined was also faster than me and faster than them, so they just all pulled away. And then it was getting colder and colder, and you see here I was trying to hide my fingers behind the steering wheel, but yeah, this would be a great problem towards the end of the race, and especially in race 2. But yeah, as I was saying, I didn't have a particularly good pace with this card. Uh, but after these first few laps and after those two guys overtook me, I kind of found my pace. So I found a good rhythm. So not amazing, like usually a good pace or a good lap is like 40.5 to 40.7. But So I was lapping way slower, as you can see, but I was strangely consistent. So I'm surprised and happy with that. And yeah, what you can see here was my fastest lap for race one, which was not, as I said, not amazing. And then you see me again here try to use the steering wheel as a shield for my fingers, and especially the last 5 minutes of the race were quite tough. But then we have here the guy in blue who started in front of me rejoining, and actually I was able to stay in front of him after his first pit stop. But then I was catching this back marker, so I decided to go into the pits, and you see here again it was so tricky the pit entry. And for some reason, apparently, Joe ended up touching the barriers in this pit stop. I couldn't see from my own board, but they ended up giving him a penalty the next lap. But yeah, so I rejoined behind Gianluca here, but he was way faster, so he started pulling away immediately. But you see, there is some stuff going on at the front. I think there was one back marker or one guy that didn't pit, so it was a bit slower than the rest of us. But I think he's going to the pit now, yes, and this basically will free up Joe and Gianluca. But if you notice now on the start finish line, they are showing the black flag to Joe, and so he decided to let Gianluca go. And yeah, I was a bit too far away to pass him as well. But anyway, at the end of the lap, he immediately went to the pits to serve his penalty. It was just a shame that he received that. And you can see here that once again I was able to stay in front of the guy in blue as he rejoined for his second pit stop. But a few laps later, he was able to uh, attack me here on this right-hander, and you can see here. And yeah, he was a bit faster, and so he was able to make a move. And one lap later, in the same spot, another guy tried to overtake me, but he came from way further away, so I did not see him at all. So that's why I was not intentionally closing the corner, but we ended up touching. And at the very last lap, he tried again. But yeah, once again, I was a bit too far, and luckily I was able to hold the position. And the guy in front, the guy that the guy in blue overtook, was a back marker, so I wouldn't have gained a position anyway. So in the end, I got P10. So I felt that I was going a bit slower than the guys around me. But yeah, I was happy anyway. I didn't lose too many positions, so happy with the result. Before moving to race two, this was the temperature during race one of Group C, 3 degrees. And also something else happened actually in race one of Group C. At the end of the straight, two guys apparently were side by side, and one of them just hit the barriers very hard, and I had to call an ambulance. The guy was okay; he was breathing, he was talking, but he just felt a lot of pain in. I don't know if it was exactly the back or somewhere else, but yeah, as a precaution, they had to call an ambulance. Uh, and yeah, thankfully, it was not a serious injury. It didn't break anything. The staff at the car track was also keeping us informed of what they knew. So yeah, it seems that nothing major happened, but they just had to bring him away, and this ended up slow down a lot the schedule, and then because of this, the temperature went down even more. And by the time we started our race too, the temperature was basically 2 degrees, and yeah, it was fucking freezing. It was probably the hardest conditions I've ever driven. And there's another bad news for race 2. For some reason, I accidentally touched the GoPro or hit something while I was dressing up, and it ended up pointing a lot down, so you cannot really see a lot that's going on. So I'll try to keep this quick and try to narrate as much as possible. But yeah, starting P10, and I found a way better feeling with this car than the one I had previously. And here, reaching the end of the first lap, there was already something going on. One guy decided to go immediately in the pits. It was like a late decision, so I ended up bumping into him. But yeah, a bit of time lost, but nothing serious. But because of this, I was quite free both in front and behind me. And a few laps later, the guys in front were starting to battle quite hard, and they were swapping positions back and forth. And this was slowing them quite a lot, and I was able to catch them. And so I immediately decided to go to the pits here to not lose any more or any time, or try to minimize the time loss. And also here it was kind of drying up finally, the pit lane entry. but here still being quite cautious and thankfully not touching any barrier and rejoining quite safely with no one's around. And coming up, the guy in blue that was in front of me pitted already, and he actually overtook this guy on the straight, like side by side. But but seeing what happened in the past when I tried to make that move, I decided not to attempt it at least immediately. So I was trying to pump draft this guy, but he was faster than me in the corners. But you see here how much faster I was in the straight. So after a few laps of try and see what I could do, I decided to okay, fuck it, I'll try and give it a shot. And indeed, here my card was way better in pulling the top speed. So yeah, overtake done. And after the overtake, I was actually able to close the gap back to the guy in front because, as I said, I was feeling at ease with this card. I was going very fast, and I wanted to see here how much faster I was in the straight, or if our cars were kind of leveled. And yeah, I'm a bit faster, but the difference was not huge, like with the other guy. But yeah, coming here towards the end of this lap, he actually made a big mistake. He ended up running very wide there, but the gap there was not enough to squeeze and completely overtake. So yeah, you see here only towards the end of the straight I'm able to get really close to him and bump drafting. But a couple of laps later, I actually ended up making a small mistake here, which ended up opening up the gap a bit with the guy in front. But this enabled me to do the fastest lap of the race, and while we go through it, I wanted to talk a bit about the conditions during this race and the cold. So the last 5 minutes of the race were almost unbearable. I wanted the race to be over as soon as possible at that point. The biggest problem were the fingers and the hands and the grip on the steering wheel. Like the inputs were getting less and less accurate, and it was very hard to be smooth with the steering wheel. It was more a on-off situation, and also the toes were also getting all the air on the straight, and they were getting very cold. But yeah, the lap was actually a 40.550, which was very good lap time. So as I said, I was quite happy with this card, and only towards the end of the race, in the very last lap, we ended up catching a couple of cars in front of us. Uh, but yeah, at this point, I just wanted it to be over, as I said. And P7 was actually a very good result. I was very happy with it. So to recap, was qualifying P7, race 1 P10, losing a bit of ground, but recovering that during race 2. So ending up P7 for that. And also, as I said at the beginning of the video, this was the last race of the year. So after the race, there was an award ceremony where they were giving prizes to the first 20 drivers in the standing. And I stayed there because I ended up being in the top 20. You can see the standing here, and I'm in P15, tied on points with the guy in 16th. But as you can see, some cells are colored yellow because the worst three results are discarded for the standing. And then I was tied on points with the guy in 16, but my best result is a bit better than his best result. So I ended up beating him in the standing. But what I'm particularly happy about is that, as you can see, my points scoring went up towards the end of the season. So it gives me confidence that if next year I do this again, I will be able to fight for positions a bit higher up. Also, yeah, because as you saw in this race, for example, I was fighting in the top 10. So yeah, this gives me confidence for next year. But coming back to this year, this is the trophy they gave me for P15. So yeah, pretty cool, quite shiny. And yeah, so with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and bye.